afternoon to one and all present here. We welcome you to the Icon Best 2021, a virtual conference on built environment science and technology organized by School of Architecture and Interior Design, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. I, Professor Esther Shareen, Associate Professor, Admin Coordinator, School of Architecture and Interior Design, have the honor of hosting the conference room 3 out of 6, Icon Best 2021 on 20th February 2021, Day 1. I welcome one and all, and I'm very excited to be amongst all of you in this conference for the afternoon session. I would like to introduce our fifth speaker, architect Fahad Suhail Abbasi, partner and design lead, Suhail and Fahad Architects, Pakistan. Fahad Suhail Abbasi is an award-winning architect from Pakistan, and he received his B.Arch from the Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture, Karachi in 2002. He co-founded Suhail and Fahad Architects with his father, the renowned architect Suhail Abbasi, in Islamabad with his branch office in Karachi. Amongst large and medium-sized private, corporate and diplomatic projects that he has designed across the country, he remains involved in social responsibility projects with NGOs and other Pakistan and firmly believes in giving back to the community. Fahad is known for his distinctive approach and strong spatial sense, which is evident in all his projects. His work has been published extensively, both locally and internationally, and has represented his country on many international forums in the last 10 years. He has received the first National Award for Architectural Design Excellence in 2009 for the Covered Swimming Pool and Fitness Faculty Building in Islamabad Club, and the Honorable Mention for the Architectural Design Excellence for 2 consecutive cycles, 2013 and 2014. From IIAP, Institute of Architects, Pakistan, for a private residence and the Polo complex both in Islamabad, Pakistan. He was the first elected chairman of ACYA, Arcacia Committee of Young Architects, Architects Regional Council Asia, where he served for 2 years, term 2015 and 2016. He currently holds the position of the first honorary secretary and founder member of the Eastern Regional Organization for Planning and Human Settlements, Pakistan chapter. Let us now proceed to the presentation from architect Fahad.
I am Fawad Abbasi, practicing architect and interior designer from Pakistan. Very fortunate to be part of the FIDA event. I think it's a great event. Have been lucky enough to be one of the international jurors also in Pakistan, Lahore. I am an architect who's been practicing for almost 2 decades in Islamabad and in Karachi in Pakistan. We as architects in Pakistan go through a lot of interesting, I would say, characteristics of architecture when we're practicing or we started our practice. I was lucky because I had a mentor. I had someone who I looked up to, and what better than your own father, who was a famous architect of the country. He had lots of great buildings as an author and has a lot of exposure. And he was there to teach me. And so in 2002 onwards, I started practicing with him. The firm is called Suhail and Fawad Architects. And we're working towards a portfolio which looks after hospitality projects, retail design, corporate office design. We're doing a national hotel and lots of interesting projects that cater from mid-rise buildings to large corporate interiors, and of course mid-size and large farmhouses, because that's the kind of forte that we work around. This particular the idea of this talk, which I felt is important because coming from a background of art and architecture, and living in Islamabad, which is the first linear city of Asia, we were lucky enough to be able to understand what the outdoor and indoor design really meant, how nature and the man-made could blend together, and how an architect would actually work at playing a really important role to be able to show and bring it close to what a community living or a neighborhood really meant. So the topic was something that I thought was perfect to talk about, to have grown up in a city which had all the characters of a green, beautiful city. And so born and raised in Islamabad, Pakistan, meant so much to me. And I'm very honored to share the stage with some of the most iconic people from the region and around the world. So my name is again Fawad Suhail Abbasi. I'm a partner and design lead from Suhail and Fawad Architects in Pakistan. And I'll move to the first slide and show you what we really are doing. So my presentation is on urban spaces, communities, and the emerging social fabric, the role of the architect. I think it's important when we talk about how cities and neighborhoods and built environments sort of get together as one whole. When I talk about the learning process, really, it was surely something that is taught in our studio, and it's whenever we're designing a building or we're designing a space, we always talk about how a building would gel into the nature. So everything that's designed within our office, we always figure out a way to see how it will interact with the environment. This came along when I was learning, and what better way to learn from my own father, who's been practicing in Pakistan for the last 50 plus years. So his experience on large and medium-sized projects has always come out in a way that our office, the architects, the draftsmen, the engineers, they all kind of learn from the vast experience that he came through, and whatever buildings that he's done from day one have of course been experiential in a lot of ways. But of course, the idea is that living and working in Islamabad, where naturally the national green is kind of very visible from everywhere, it's got to kind of be part of your architecture in a big way. And growing up in a city like Islamabad, which is the first linear city in Asia, the green atmosphere, the green environment was always a major element of design for most of the architects that worked in this area. Like I said, we deal with every project with an integrated approach. We are both modernists at heart and take strong influences from history, context, and local materials expressed through geometric forms that create series of augmented spaces. So when we talk about environment, we talk about built environments. It is crucial for anyone to understand the local materials, the regional materials that are part of that area. And we have a very rich culture that coming from the areas of Punjab, or even if we go towards Sindh or Balochistan, or even the frontier province, where brick has always been very important. Stone has been very, very important in terms of constructing buildings or spaces, as I might say. So when we talk about that, the studio always looks for human-centric possibilities that enable us to the user to go through various atmospheres that have difference of scale, materiality. All these differences cater to various psychological needs. The overall consequence of light and greenery are the key intangible ingredients creating an attractive and indulging space. For us, the neighborhood is as important as the building itself. So coming from a country which has a very rich culture, and the rich culture means that a lot of people, a lot of family, and a lot of neighbors, they're all kind of part of your household. We're big on meeting people. We're famous for being very hospitable. We'd love to have guests over. So if you look at our design and our kind of way of living, the spaces that we plan play a very vital role. As an architect, I've always tried to understand the relation between the socio-physical characteristics of the neighborhood and community participation. I've always been interested in studying the interaction between humans and environments. Our work is directly influenced with nature and how nature and man-made kind of respond. Even as a student of architecture, I wanted to research as to how one can improve quality of life through design. It's always fascinated me to see the impact of architecture can be, if one is sensitive to the small details it can have, lasting impressions on the lives of millions. I think as architects, we do and we can kind of create spaces that leave a mark on you. For a person who is not an architect but kind of interacts with that space, we do need to create spaces that, or we tend to create spaces that leave a mark on people who've come and they're exposed to that environment. Design my buildings only to the point of setting the frames, the volumes, the vocabulary, the proportions, the specifications, and wait for it to whisper to me, to stop and let it do the rest itself. I think I can hear the whisper. When I say that the proportions or how the impact of the space is really, I think it's given us the liberty as architects to really think out of the box. Think out of the box in the sense that why do spaces that leave no impact? So as architects, we trained to think in 3 dimension. We can visualize a space that how it would look later once it's built. I want to really talk about the city and the impact of the city that I've grown up in. Islamabad, the capital itself, the first design capital of a country like Pakistan. Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan and the first planned linear city in Asia. In the north of the city, you will find the Mughla Hills, hot summers, monsoon rains, and cold winters with sparse snow from the hills almost summarize the climate of this beautiful city. So we're lucky. We get to have all 4 seasons. We have the fall, we have the winters and the summers, and the beautiful autumn. So if you look at the pictures that I'm kind of showcasing of the city that I've grown up in, it's a modern city. It's got the beautiful climates that I talked about. So why not, and why shouldn't really it have an impact on the architecture, and why not that it leaves a mark on you in a sense that you really have the good luck of being able to drive down 45 minutes to a hill station. You've got the really sharp kind of winters. The summers are hot but impactful. You've got lovely rains. You've got the monsoon rains happening. So it's the city's kind of, I've grown up seeing the city grow. And when I talk to my father, who was one of the first pioneers of modern movement in the country, and was able to design some really interesting buildings that we saw being built and become part of the fabric of the city. I was lucky to see them being built, most of them at least. So the early 60s, when Islamabad was being built, was being planned, and buildings were coming up by some of the foreign architects, and then of course other Pakistani architects that were building their own design philosophy and something that we call Pakistani architecture. So the city really gave it that flavor. The national monument, planned for the future and built for the present, the metropolitan area of Islamabad is Dynatropolis. The green city is all about parks, neighborhoods, and hospitable people. So the city itself is not only green, but one of the finest cities of Asia, where when you come in, you have the good luck of really designing buildings here. It gives you the nature kind of is there's no way that you can forget that and not have a nature part of your buildings. So a master plan of Islamabad reflects the needs of the physical environment to an increasing degree, starting with the straight line alignment of the 2x2 kilometer grid, iron system of the major transportation corridors down the forms of local elements, local roads with small radius curves, dead ends and loops, pedestrian roads with stairs, etc. So the city is really a city of lights, I would say now. It's really grown. A lot of people have moved from the suburbs, from the rural areas to the city itself. So you see a nightlife, which was not there in the early 80s and probably not in the early 90s as well. But then the city grew, and it's got a horizontal growth. happening even now, and we see the impacts of that too. But overall, the city has a degree of impact that one can clearly notice. So the important buildings, I would think, that have come up: the Supreme Court building, the Faisal Mosque itself, which is one of the largest mosques in Asia, the Serena Hotel by Naili Dada. Another two important buildings that my father designed, of course, the National Art Gallery of Pakistan. He's one of the co-authors, and State Life Tower, which is again a vertical office building, and of course, the National Art Gallery. So in our office, again, like I said, the local material has been crucial to our design philosophy, brick being the major core of our design. And we normally look at our buildings in brick and kind of complementary materials. So if you look at these two buildings, the National Gallery for me is important because from the day the stone laying ceremony happened, I was very young at the time. Then the building was completed in 2007, and the State Life Tower, which is a recent building completed, and these two buildings, of course, have a different character. The National Art Gallery, of course, has. The reason for showing the project is because I think it's a building that brings the community together. It brings the people together. The art exhibitions that are happening here, they're permanent exhibits, they're constant exhibitions happening here, theaters happening here. There are a number of musical events that happen here. So it's a very, very cosmopolitan, yet very, very, it symbolizes and the love of art, really. On the other hand, post-COVID, and now the way we look at buildings now, we would now look at buildings with a lot of terraces. This building, although designed in the mid-90s, still had that impact. Took about 25 years to build the State Life Tower, but still, I think it was designed for the future with lots of terraces, walkout spaces. And this is how our new buildings that we're working on, and most of the architects in Pakistan since pre-COVID and post-COVID have reworked or rethought about how buildings need to be looked at in terms of indoor-outdoor spaces. So that's one of the reasons. So Suhail Fahad Architects strongly believes in regionalism, context and use of local materials, love for nature, sensitivity to climate, site conditions. The multidimensional spaces which openly celebrate traditional dichotomies such as old and new, inside and outside, as one whole, but complementing each other. So how we look at our buildings is really an indoor-outdoor space. It is all about being able to walk out of a living room, walk out of your master bed, and just being able to not just look at the green outside through courtyards or green spaces, but really experience those spaces. So most of our projects, whether large or small, they all have those elements clearly defined when we design our buildings. I'm going to show a few projects which talk about interaction, they talk about transition spaces, they talk about neighborhood, they talk about communal spaces. This particular building is a residential building, and it's designed around courtyards, of course, green spaces. And if you look at the plan also, it's if you quickly look at that, it's again a U-shaped plan. The whole family gets along, the neighbors come in. So it's really something that was very close to my heart in a corner site. And I thought it was something that I would love to show to our audience. The rooms all are, the landscape is kind of brought inside the house itself. So you can experience it with just sitting in your room, or you can just walk out into the veranda and really experience it physically. The house is kind of opening into that. The glazing is very clear and spot on in the sense that it looks like that you're sitting in the garden within the house. Similarly, another project in Karachi, which also talks about green spaces, the courtyard itself, the use of regional materials, again, is something that the office really celebrates. The use of old wooden jalis that we feel are the way to archive them, the way to restore them is to reuse them into our building. So a modern building can have those elements, like you see the blue windows or even the veranda doors that are old, but then reutilized in a way that become part of the building. Courtyards and gardens have always brought light and life into all our buildings, giving the end user the option to walk out into these private spaces. For some, this is a waste of space due to high land prices, as clients want more, especially if the site is small. So I think the idea of breaking the concrete structure is really about through bringing these green spaces inside the house. And and then of course using local tiles, using interesting patterns, color and green spaces throughout our buildings is crucial to our design philosophy. And in an urban context, of course, this is something that people have understood in an urban environment, why keeping these green spaces is more important than a concrete structure itself. So I think we've been able to bring that through our clients and been able to educate them in the process. Planning of spaces and all, making fundamental choices, deciding what to maximize, minimize for achieving one's aim. Making the right choices leads to decisiveness. Functions and materials who have to be ruthlessly selected, and one must get rid of any superfluous objects or fused objects, really. So again, like I said, we try to really look at the materiality of our buildings, like we look at the buildability itself, how an office building and a roof garden of the office building can really work better than not having one. So this building was designed specifically for an office space. And again, the office opens on the top level, opens into these roof gardens, and then of course how brick can be used is another example of how we really want the raw concrete to blend in with the brick itself. And again, installations, artwork plays a vital role in our design. And we try and really blend that or fuse that with the color palette that we choose for our buildings. The spaces, every space, of course, has to really open into something green or a plantation or a source of light, which really helps in kind of bringing the best out of a concrete structure itself. How we kind of cut the light through by defining cantilevers, use of metal structures or metal windows that then bring in light by really cutting the light in a way that it doesn't influence or turn anything bad in a way. A design isn't finished unless someone uses it. I firmly believe that a home is really not built unless you live in it. It's people live in it and really enjoy the spaces. So, but this particular project that I'm showing is a project that we got an award for. We got a national award for the Polo complex in Islamabad, Pakistan. The project itself was designed in 5 phases, where we did the infrastructure design, we did the landscape, and of course we did the buildings for the Polo complex. The first designed Polo complex in Asia, and we were able to design the entire master plan initially. Then we did the stables and the corrals, the buildings itself. We did the dining facility buildings, the grounds, which are the polo fields, the polo arenas, the stick and ball fields. We did the overall design for the irrigation lake around it, a really communal space in the literal sense. People come and enjoy polo matches, of course, but then they are part of the green landscape, which goes through miles really. The stables, the green spaces, the materials of the buildings, they're all very contextual. They're brick and concrete, which is again user friendly, maintenance friendly. And I think that's one of the reasons for the success of the project. And we're very happy that we've been able to contribute to the environment and to the overall space planning of a place that we belong to, the city itself, Islamabad. Again, the buildings, the members' changing rooms are all done in materials that are very easy to maintain. Of course, our favorite material, the brick itself. The spectators arena, of course, is done in raw local wood with metal fencing, so it's really easy to maintain. The grooms' dormitory buildings, which are again courtyard buildings, again are kept in brick and concrete, so it's easy to maintain. Design is where science and art break even. A very interesting statement I found, and I thought that I'd share one of my sketches for a building that I designed a few years ago. This particular indoor open space is the Marquee Cafe, which is part of the Polo complex. of a number of restaurants that we've done. This was a very unique design in terms of really a space sitting inside a green space. So I thought it was, when we talk about communal spaces, we talk about communities, or the built environment, I thought this is a project that number of people can relate to. And I think we were able to bring in a design that the clients agreed with. The brick bases that the poles come out with. The structure was very simple, tensile fabric roof, and something that it's like whenever you go there, it's like you're sitting outdoors, but then you're indoors as well. The night lighting was really studied and made part of the interiors. So it becomes like this lit up large Marquee Cafe every night. How they blend in with the greens outside during matches as well. So it's very earthy. It's like it's coming out of the soil. So it was a very fantastic kind of a experience to be able to design something like this. Again, when you talk about contextual design, this building, which is a pharmaceutical building, was again done. A linear design was done for a pharmaceutical company, corporate office, but looked at for long term. It was looked at for the future. Again, the idea is that when the employees come to work and they're part of a group or a team of people who work together, they spend a number of hours in a facility like this. So the idea was that it, of course, had natural light. It would always be interactive. So courtyards were introduced into the building form, and we were able to really bring together the future of what a corporate office design would be. So it's again an indoor-outdoor building, and very approachable, very easy to maintain, and I think a very earthy structure. One of our recent projects was smaller but a very interesting U-shaped plan, Courtyard House, Residence 84. Again, it was the courtyard makes it all that airy and all that well lit, because two houses on both ends kind of stuck together. But this particular house had a courtyard which brings on the natural light to the building itself. The use of the brick jali, the marble chips coatings, they're all kind of gel together as one. So bringing an element which we feel is quite naturally contextual and regional that we work with. The way the light is brought in through skylights, through natural jarokas, and through, of course, the major courtyard space that is crucial to the design phase. The Riding Clubhouse, again, another building of ours, which is, of course, designed for members and of course horses, because it's part of a larger master plan where we did the master plan design, we did the architecture, the interior design, even the artworks, and it was very interesting because if you get the opportunity to really do the master plan, where all the aspects of communal design is looked at, where people will come in and they'll be able to use it more. It was really nice that we were able to define everything that happens, even the artworks, the sculptures, everything that happened in the interior, we were part of after the master plan architecture. A very simple layout, but impactful in a way that it sits firmly in front of the paddocks and the main riding area. A very important CSR project. I thought I'd show that because we in Pakistan, we really look into CSR projects, and the cafe itself, which is approachable, very approachable in many ways, but it's very locally crafted. Most of the things that you see in the building are completely local, of course, but we've tried to really utilize the space with the lovely views of the Magla Hills, with the roof garden or the roof baghicha that we call on the second floor, the cafe on the first level, and of course the boutique on the lowest level. So the entire building was kind of renovated, restored with modern technology, with modern finishes, but very regional. One of the beauties of architecture, at each time it's like life starting all over again. I thought it was a very pertinent statement by Renzo Piano, one of my favorite people. This sketch that we did for one of our projects, which were kind of remodeling of existing cricket stadiums. Like many countries, we're very, very big on cricket. So again, thinking about how every person would approach this project, how close we are to cricket. And I was trying to make it as I would think artistic as possible, natural light and ventilation, and of course how we would keep it well was something that was very important to my design philosophy. Uh, I would, in the end, would like to show you some of our projects that we've been working on post-COVID. Had to make these were buildings that we were working on, but then COVID hit and we redesigned or relooked at what post-COVID design would be all about. Specifically, if we talk about urban design. So the Courtyard by Marriott, which is under construction, again is a brick and stone building being done in Islamabad, Pakistan. As the architects of the project, and this U-shape, this central courtyard plan is again done in a way that it looks like a Pakistani building. This is something done, I would say, intentionally or unintentionally, but it's done for a purpose, because I feel that design cannot be alien. It has to work around a space that which can have all kinds of buildings around, but it should kind of celebrate the neighborhood around it also. So we've made sure that the buildings around it become part of the landscape. It's under construction, so we're very excited about the how it's coming along, and we're at a point in our lives where we feel that the indoor-outdoor spaces will probably be the need of the hour. Another building that's under construction, the Sky Park 1. It's a residential oblique mall building, or so I would say a mixed-use building. We've got apartments at the top level, and we've got the mall on the lowest 4 levels. Again, we're doing a Sky Park on the 10th level. It's a place where the residences, the people using the building or living in that building would be able to come in. You'd be able to use the volleyball court, the swimming pools, the gym area, the cafe that we've designed upstairs, and it'll be a very green space. Something that we've been doing for years now, but now looking at vertical towers that are going to become part of this courtyard design or courtyard plan, rather than just being a block where it only has views on the outside. So it's an introverted building, and kind of something that we do are really working on towards in terms of our design philosophy. One Expressway, another corporate office building that's been done post-COVID and is under construction right now. We've been able to again bring in every office space has outdoor spaces. Every corridor or a transition space is again well lit, skylights, open spaces, and of course views to the outside was very, very important to the initial design, and it's coming out really well, and we're really excited about the end result. The Fairfax concrete structure with brick as our main core design, and of course glass where it's really needed. Night lighting, of course, is crucial to our design philosophy, so we're really working around that as well. And the last building that I want to show you before I end my presentation is another apartment complex that we're designing. It's a high-end apartment building because it's got only 4-bedroom apartments, about 70 or so. The roof garden again is being used for multiple events, and of course every block can approach these roof gardens directly through their elevator to the service core, and then have courtyards on the ground floor level as well, but well connected, well lit. Again, like I said, in our design philosophy, we've always made sure that we don't alienate our neighbors. We made sure that it becomes part of and blends, our architecture blends in with what we have next to us. Of course, we do realize also that looking at the future of design and architecture in the world, we would always tell our clients to sort of kind of come down to a smaller footprint, but leave more space for outdoor areas or courtyards or green spaces, which in a number of ways we've been able to educate them, and I think it's worked in most of our cases. So before I end, architecture at its visionary best engaged exhilarates and inspires. It possesses a quality almost indescribable that embodies design ingenuity, connection to place, and above all, imagination. I thank you all of you for this great honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Architect Fahad, for your insightful presentation. I'm certain that the audience have found it to be a very insightful presentation. Now we shall take a short break for a sponsor video, post which we shall proceed to our next speaker, Professor Sheila Srikumar from Sydney, Australia.
This is Amit, and I am a proprietor of Metro Books, and our firm is a 12-year-old firm located in Delhi, and we have our head office in Delhi, and we have our 2 branch offices. One is in Pune and another one is in Chennai. So we are dealing in architecture and engineering books, and our core specialization is for engineering and architecture books. We have our specialization in architecture planning, interior design, animation, facility design planning, digital architecture, and construction project management, urban design, etc. So as you see, there are different books we have in our offices. So let me tell you, explain you the different books here. Like we have books for different publishers like Thames, Addison, Lawrence King, etc., MIT Press. So you can see here in this rack that like all these books are very basic books, and most of the books are into various universities syllabus, and also there are some civil titles are also there, like the Seavers one, like the passive and low energy. And you can again see here some very basic books required for all universities. And you can see here the books in this rack is for Wiley, and this is a US based publisher, very renowned publisher, and publishing books on various subjects, and very famous books they have published. So that, and we are directly procuring from this publisher. And in this rack you can see the Routledge publisher. This publisher is from UK, and again a very renowned publisher in the field of engineering and architecture subject. So they also publish on all the subjects like planning, urban design, interior design, fashion, animation, photography, etc. Like again you can see some books published by Indian publishers in this rack, and these are the very basic books published by different publishers. So we are also doing publishing for architecture books, and we deal in architecture books, and you can see these are the books by Design Media, and again this is a very famous publisher for design books and architecture books. And like I have told you that we are into the publishing field also, and we have published few titles on architecture subject, and some more titles also we are going to publish in next year, and this year also we are going to publish few titles, and we are still working on those titles to get it published within this year. like one is for planning and other one is for architecture and one is for history of architecture. So these are the fields which we are planning this year. And you can see here the books based on design. This is again a very famous publisher for design books, and name of the publisher is Sandpoints. So that's this publisher is from China, and again you can see some more books for Link publishers, and that is again also a US publisher. Again you can see some book published by Actor publisher, and you can see some archival books are also there. That's again a very Korean publisher. Again some books are for links for different on housing, digital architecture, on housing roofs, etc. And here you can see the books for European publishers. So all these books are for European publishers. So these are the books I have just shown you, and we are try to cover each and every subject relating to architecture, especially in publishing also. So that's all from my side. Thank you.